when we go into AC?
March?
Howdy, this is Friday, January 27th, 2017, and this is episode 35 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. I'm Kyle Askin, and joined as always by Craig Stone. What's going on, Craig?
Happy to be here as always.
We just want to take a little bit of time to say thanks to Eric Rosenthal again for joining us for a second time last episode. I think that it went over very well with the audience, and it created a lot of conversation kind of around the blogosphere. So did that conversation make you want to have a host more than you do, Craig? Or are you planning on changing anything about your gambling patterns, having talked to Eric twice now?
I mean, for me, for a host, I think that's just so outlandish. Like,
right.
I'm nowhere close. So,
well, but does it make you want to host?
Not necessarily. I think the sort of needing to feed that person is too nerve-wracking for me. I don't like feeling like I have to play a certain amount or earn a certain amount of tier credits in a trip. So I don't think I'd necessarily want that. I think if I was playing enough that I would get a host anyway, then I would want to host. Whereas before I sort of felt like, I don't know that I really want to deal with the person. I can just book my offers online. So that question is probably better for you, since you're certainly closer than I am. And you're very much a person who probably prefers the online interface and doesn't necessarily want to deal with another human being. That sounds bad, considering that we've met people, and
it sounds bad, but it's surprisingly true.
But do you want to host more?
Maybe a little, but. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I wanted to host literal zero before. So, I mean, I think that there are definitely pros. I mean, especially the way Eric laid it out. Like you, for me right now, it's just not realistic. I'm going to, 3 gambling trips a year or something now, and I don't gamble enough in them to deserve one. So it's not realistic at this point in my life. But, I mean, it's something that seems interesting, perhaps sometime down the line.
So what about your gambling habits? Are you interested in trying to do anything like taking advantage of promos or trying to figure out some sort of ways to max out your comps or get diamond back?
Again, obviously at some point in my life getting diamond was important because I did devise, a way to get diamond in a day as cheaply as possible, and I did it and I followed through with it, and so it's something that I've done. But again, just right now with the number of times I make a trip to Atlantic City or Las Vegas, diamond is honestly not really worth all that much to me right now, doing 2 or 3 trips a year. So yeah, it's just something right now that I'm not really going to worry about, and just I'm going to relax and just have fun when I'm up there, because it's so rare that I am able to get out for a weekend. You have any changes planned?
I don't know that I'll actually follow through, because I have...
Since last time you didn't follow through and still would just take promos and not do any gambling or whatever.
Yeah, I certainly have a sort of inertia to the way I play, right? And we've talked so many times about, like, casino hopping versus trying to put our play into one place and really max out our offers at one place. And when I actually get to AC, I sort of get so much more value out of casino hopping. And part of that is, like, if I'm not going to casino hop, why don't I just go to some local place? Why don't I go to the PA Sands in Bethlehem or whatever? But I do think I've thought, my first thought was, there are a lot of promos I could probably get diamond without very much of an increase in coin in.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also in a place, I think, where I could increase my coin in without really noticing that. I mean, but I don't know that it would get me that much more fun for the increased coin in. So, like, doing it just for diamond doesn't really make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Although, like Eric said, there is the thrill of the chase. Like, I would feel pretty cool, even though there are like thousands and thousands of Diamond members in Atlantic City at any given weekend. Like, I would still feel like, yeah, Diamond, like, that's cool. I mean, so one of the things I thought of was, like, should I try to convince, like, our friends Dave and Andy that they should pool their play with me for a trip, and we'll, like, on my card, get Diamond in a day or something like that. Like, go, I don't know, when there's a promo, get Diamond in a day. I'll do some sort of, like, loss buyback for them. So it basically, like, limits my exposure, but I still earn Diamond. And, like, at the end of the day, that's probably not really that fun for them. It's too stressful for me. So I don't know. I probably won't do that.
I will say that if you and Andy and Dave pulled your play for a day, I don't think you'd, and it was a normal amount of play, you wouldn't come anywhere close to Diamond in a day.
Oh, absolutely. No, it would have to be a significant increase in play.
Yeah, and it's harder to get than when I got it, again, because I got it using full pay video poker, which does not comp at 10 to 1 anymore, or doesn't give you tier credits at 10 to 1 anymore like it used to.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to do it, it would have to be for sort of like the satisfaction that I created some plan and came up with it. And like you did, like you had the spreadsheet where you sort of figured within some standard deviations what you could expect to lose or win.
Right.
And I think if I went into it with a plan, I might find it more fun, although I think in the moment I'd still find it stressful. But the other thing I was thinking about was, do I want to try to just go to resorts and increase my play there significantly, because I don't have very much of a play history there, and they're incredibly generous with comps. So, like, do I want to go there and just play some slightly higher than what I normally play, or do some group gambling or something like that for a trip where I rack up some tier credits and just see what I get? Because, you know, like I said, I'm already getting 6-night-a-week comps off season. And I like it. You know, I like resorts a lot. So, you know, if I was going to get like more food and beverage, 7-night-a-week rooms, like I could see myself basically making resorts my home base. But again, the thing that I keep coming back to at the end of the day is, like, do I really want to go on a trip where I don't hop over to Caesars and gamble at Caesars, which I really like, or I don't make it over to the marina, which sometimes we don't make it to the marina, but I like to have the option. And I just can't see that happening. Like, I just can't see myself making that much of a change to my Atlantic City trips, because I enjoy my Atlantic City trips so much the way they are now. So I have a hard time sort of convincing myself to do something like that. I think if I went more, like if I went 8 times a year instead of 4 or 5, like last year I went 5 times a year, which is a decent amount. But if I was going like every month and a half, you know, 6 weeks, 5, 6, 7 weeks, I think I would have an easier time saying, like, hey, I'm just going to stay at resorts this time and see what happens, figuring, you know, I can sort of have a trip where I do an experiment because I'm going to be back in a few weeks. Whereas as it is, it's like I don't get there enough. And when I get there, I really want to, like, have my time in Atlantic City the way I know I'm going to enjoy it. Which I think comes around to why I get so stressed about the end of trips, especially in Vegas, because it's like I don't know when I'll ever be back, so I'm like stressed and I want to pack stuff in. That's probably a conversation for another time, but I don't know if you have any thoughts before we wrap this up and move on to the news.
No, I do sort of agree with you, and that, like you said, I just don't go often enough that it's not worth it for me right now, and, like, you know, planning around promos is just not realistic. I just plan around, like, whenever there's an open weekend coming up that I can get out of the house. So something you did say that reminded me of a rather contentious conversation we had kind of a month ago and said we'd bring up on the podcast because it'd be more interesting there, when you were talking about there being hundreds or thousands of Diamond members walking around Atlantic City at any given time. We were discussing online around a month ago about the Founders card and whether or not that's a good or bad idea in Caesars, and then it kind of came up. I think you were pushing for the idea that maybe Caesars should just sell Diamond cards straight up, right?
Well, I that was sort of more of a joke. Not necessarily that they should sell Diamond cards straight up, but it was sort of a reaction to people saying, like, all these people didn't earn the perks, and then like listing those perks and saying like they didn't earn Diamond Lounge access or line cutting or
the $100 dinner.
Yeah, the dinner or the resort or getting waived resort fees and early check-in and late checkout fees waived. And so my thought around that was like I'm very sympathetic to every aspect that actually affects you. So like Diamond Lounge access, yes, I can see where you'd say like I don't want someone being able to just say like I'm going to pay and get Diamond Lounge access. And even free rooms.
You just saying that that actually doesn't work in Atlantic City. You have to pay 1,000 reward credits to get into the Diamond Lounges per person.
Yeah, but
specifically because of that.
That's not hard to do though. But like saying that, but I can see where that affects you, right? Like the Diamond Lounges, they can get a pretty big line. Like I can totally understand that. I can understand, if people are sort of filling the free rooms and it's harder to get a room when you want to get it or the type of room you want to get it. I can understand that. Where I sort of not necessarily lose the sympathy, but sort of get disconnected from the argument is when you say something like, well, they should have to pay resort fees. Like anyone below me in the tier status should have to pay a resort fee because like it doesn't affect you at all if somebody gets a resort fee waived. And not only that, like you should want everyone, like you should feel good about anyone who gets the resort fee waived because it's not like that money is like going to get you more perks. And the resort fee is only created recently. It's not like this is something that's always been there and it's always been a diamond perk. Like it used to be that even a few years ago, if you got a comped room, your resort fee was waived. I mean, it used to be there were no resort fees. Then they added resort fees. Then they said, oh, even if you're comped room, you have to pay the resort fee. So like when we started going, if our rooms were comped, we didn't have to pay the fee. And so like this is something that's just always getting tacked on and tacked on. So it's not a perk really for diamond status. It's like a punishment for anybody who doesn't have diamond status. So I don't really agree with that and the fact that it just doesn't affect you at all. So that's a very long way to get back to what you were asking, which is like charging for diamond status. And it's not really about charging for diamond status. What I was suggesting was sort of this like subscription service, right? Like you could pay. So the founder's card is $295 a year if you do 2 years up front. So it's $590 if you do 2 years. I think it's $395 if you do 1 year. So if Caesars did something where they said it's $300, you're not a diamond member, but you get all your resort fees waived and don't have to pay early check-in or late checkout fees, would you like? Is that something that Caesars should do? And I sort of said like, well, sure they should because a lot of people are going to pay for that and never use it. And I think you were saying that that's a terrible idea.
Right. So, I mean, I think there's a couple things that I disagree with you there. So, for one thing, kind of like the most important thing, you say that people getting these perks don't affect other people, but I mean, Diamond, it's like a premium reward. It's like a status thing, right? And so, does it directly affect someone else if I don't pay my resort fees, or if I get access to the Diamond Lounge, or if I get $100 dinner credit? Like, no, usually not directly, but it's watering down what it means to be Diamond. And sort of my response to what you say about making there being like a subscription service where you get some of the perks of Diamond without actually having to do Diamond, I think that's an awful idea because there will be a certain number of people who will decide not to become Diamond simply because they can get some of the perks of Diamond without actually having to do the play. And the thing Caesars wants most of all is they want people to get Diamond because usually that's going to require quite a bit of play. And I'd say the average person just to get to Diamond is going to lose at least, I don't know, $3,000 or something like that, probably even more. And so any watering down at all that it does of that, any people that would be Diamond, except they decide not to because they can pay for some subscription service instead, is going to be, A, really bad because they're going to lose money from it, but B, it's going to be bad because it's going to annoy all the other Diamond members who feel like they're not getting this premium benefit that they think they should only get.
So my pushback on that, and I agree that Founders Card probably it waters down Diamond status. I agree with that. I think basically saying a fee where you get your resort fees waived and early check-in and check-out waived, and that's it. Like, if you're getting Diamond for that, you're not getting Diamond. Like, that is not anybody's incentive to say, like, I only want to gamble enough to get Diamond to get the resort fees waived. For one thing, because you just get Founders Card, if that was the case. And that's a real problem. Like, I agree that that's something that the fact that they've already set that price makes the calculus a little weirder. And certainly with Founders Card, you set the price where you get all the perks, really. Like, maybe you don't get, the best rooms, or you don't get free rooms all the time, but you get, Diamond Lounge access and everything. So for me, my suggestion was stripping away everything but the fee waiving to say, like, nobody who's shooting for Diamond is just thinking about the fees. Because for one thing, if that was true, then there would have been way less Diamond members before the fees were introduced, which is like saying that adding the fees created a higher demand for Diamond, and I just can't. Maybe that's true, but I just really don't want it to be true, like in my mind, because that fee didn't exist 5 or 6 years ago. So that's part of it. And also, I just think that most people who want Diamond want the other perks, and you've probably done the math enough to know that you're going to lose more than what you're paying in resort fees in a year. So the resort fees alone don't make it worth it. So for Caesars, the calculus is about taking all that into account, right? I mean, I don't think they're ever going to do this, but for a total hypothetical, they would be taking into account what percentage of people are not going to get Diamond, which I think is very low, but I think you probably disagree, and what percentage of people are going to pay for this and use less than $300 worth, which is probably more of like what the calculus is for Founders Card, although I expect they get way, way less than that per Founders Card member.
Right. I'd assume most Founder Card members get it for other reasons other than Caesars.
Right. And figuring out sort of what the benefit is for them. I mean, clearly Caesars has done the math on Founders Card and decided it's worth it to keep re-upping it every year. You can disagree with how it affects you as a Diamond Card member or whatever, but I think our friend Andy was saying, like, part of the problem with Founders Card, or not necessarily problem, but part of the issue for people who have Diamond already with the Founders Card is that it puts a very clear price on what Caesars thinks your value is to as a Diamond member. And so Caesars has basically said, even though, allegedly, Founders comes with all these other benefits, I expect there are quite a few people who buy Founders just because of Diamond. I mean, we know people who have bought Founders just because of Diamond. It has basically put a price that says Diamond is worth $295 a year. And that is a shitty feeling if you were a Diamond member having earned your play. And I agree with that completely. If I had even done Diamond in a day or done a ton of promos and knowing that you could just pay $295, like, I would feel a little bit gypped about that.
So this is going to kind of sound strange, and I think that, with me being kind of the math finance guy and you being the marketing person, I think that kind of the thing you're overlooking here is you might be right. It might not directly lead to people being like, hey, instead of Diamond, I'm going to just pay this subscription fee or whatever. But I think all that Caesars would be doing if they did something like this is that they're watering down Diamond somehow, right? They're removing some of the exclusivity of what it means to be Diamond. And it's not that it necessarily affects anyone else, that, someone else gets a $100 food credit, right? Because like you said, that doesn't affect any existing Diamond members at all, even a little bit. But you're taking something that is exclusive to Diamond members and makes Diamond members maybe feel happy and giving it out to other people who you can, if you have a certain viewpoint, can say like, hey, that person didn't deserve it. Like, every time, I don't know if this is a good analogy or not, but every time Toyota takes some quote unquote kind of luxury, whatever, thing and puts it in one of their Toyota cars, you could say it waters down what it means to buy a Lexus or whatever.
That's absolutely true. And I'll say this also, like, having said all of this, and I still don't think it's a terrible idea, although I do agree that it would. The thing that's very difficult to quantify, and the thing that Caesars probably can't quantify even with Founders Card, is anger of Diamond members. And the sense that I've gotten is 7 Stars members do not give a crap. Like, they feel like they're getting theirs, they're gambling way, way more than even a Diamond member is. They don't care if anybody else has Diamond. Diamond members, I think, are annoyed. I think they're probably right to be annoyed. I mean, I would be annoyed in their situation, even though I'm nowhere close, so I can't really relate. But one of the things that this sort of reminds me of is season ticket holders to sports. And, I followed the Orioles for a long, I'm a huge Orioles fan, I'm a huge Capitals fan. I followed both of those 3 teams through horrible stretches, and we were, partial plan season ticket holders. I was actually partial plan season ticket holder to both when I still lived down in Maryland. But I remember thinking all the time, and people suggest all the time, these teams really need to be selling discounted packages for tickets. Like, they need to be selling huge discounts. Buy this, you get opening day. Buy this, you get really cheap seats if you buy a 6-pack of tickets and stuff like that. And anytime something like that gets introduced, the backlash from season ticket holders is significant. Because they feel like it waters down the value of season tickets. Like, a big part of the reason for being a season ticket holder is you get perks, you get discounted tickets, obviously, like you get lower than face value tickets, you get access to certain things that other people don't get access to. And so I think it was the Wizards, when the Wizards were really terrible, used to just say, we're not running any promos. We are not doing any of this. And the reason for that is because the season ticket holders always tell us they don't want to deal with it. And so how that relates to Diamond is, even if you look at the arena and say, this is terrible, this is, you could fill the arena, it's worth more to get the people in the arena and get concession sales and all that. Just like you could look at Atlantic City and say Atlantic City's in bad shape, you need to get more people into the casino. The long-term view is the money is with the season ticket holders. So you don't want to piss off your current season ticket holders because you don't want to lose them, and hopefully you get to a point where you can get more season ticket holders in the long run. So the argument against my sort of suggestion is, maybe, you don't want to lose your current Diamond members, and you don't want to have anybody who was maybe thinking about Diamond having one less reason to do it. So that is blowing up my entire argument with one statement. So and it's tough. It's tough to do that kind of calculation about short-term versus long-term, what's worth it, what's not.
For me, I think it would be a terrible decision for Caesars to do anything like directly selling some Diamond perks.
Yeah, I can't imagine them actually doing it. I can't imagine. For one thing, the optics of saying you're paying for a 10-pack of fees or whatever, which is basically what it's doing, right? The optics of that is really crappy. And Sands in Vegas tried to do some sort of weird extra package of fees. You can buy the premium resort fee for even more money, and people just completely laughed at them. So
an even better example of what they could do is they could be hey, if you're just a gold member or whatever, you can spend, instead of the 1,000 reward credits to get in the Diamond Lounge, you can spend 2,500 reward credits to get in, or something, or 5,000 reward credits to get in. And it doesn't matter if people even take them up on it or not, but all you're doing is watering down what it means to be Diamond.
Oh yeah, that I agree is a terrible idea. But I think we've talked about this enough. I'm sure I'm very interested to see what the reaction is about this, because I'm sure people will have a lot to say, because people have already had a lot to say, and that's why it even came up in the podcast, because it was a pretty lively discussion.
Right, between Craig and I. And I just want to say, I have been Diamond, and I really don't care what they end up doing, but I think it would be a terrible decision for, I think, I don't know. I haven't looked at the spreadsheets. I don't know everything they know. I think it's even dangerous to do the Founders Card thing, but I think that it's somewhat safe for them because a lot of people don't really know about it.
Yeah, so the reason, I think the reason that it came up for us is that
it was because you mentioned in other groups, or there's other discussions elsewhere. I think in the Everything AC group, you said there was a big discussion about it.
Yeah, so it was an interesting discussion, and definitely people were very sort of annoyed of this sense of watering down, like you were mentioning.
And you were incredibly annoyed at the people who we're annoyed that people can pay to get perks like no resort fees and
Right, so I
free
agree.
$100 dinner.
Well, I mean, even the $100 dinner, I can sort of see the annoyance, although that much less than like the Diamond Lounge access. Should we move on to some news?
Yeah, we can try to blow through some news that we've spent a half hour on kind of our pre-show stuff or the pre-news stuff.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to talk a ton about the news, although I always say that and then we take 45 minutes on it. But
Right, so something that's come out in the last few weeks is there have been some rumors, though I don't think anything's been confirmed, that something the state's looking at doing is cutting back on police and fire in the city now that they have that control. And I guess to sort of get ahead of this, Vincent Prieto has proposed a $2 a night occupancy fee added to AC hotels, with 100% of that money going to be earmarked to go towards basically fire and police to hopefully make it so that cuts don't have to be made there. Is there anything more you want to say about that before we discuss it a little bit?
yeah, so this is a Christian Hetrick article in the Press of Atlantic City that I'll link to in the show notes. So this is the State Assembly Speaker, Vincent Prieto. It's proposed as a 2-year temporary fee. So I don't know. I mean, it's $2 a night, which doesn't sound that significant, although there's already $5 instituted by the state and the city. Obviously, the hotels already have big resort fees. So I think the question is sort of like, is this adding even more of a fee in a place where demand is already not that high and there's a lot of competition, and any change like this is going to be a negative. So it's kind of weighing, like, is $2 really that big a deal? I think a lot of times this kind of stuff gets proposed, like Las Vegas is basically funding, I think, of their football stadium on room taxes, because it's very easy to propose this because a lot of people that come are not like your direct constituents. So as a city,
Correct.
Right, like it's very easy to propose this if people are coming from out of the city or out of the state. But I don't know. I mean, I'm annoyed by it. Obviously, I want Atlantic City to have police and public safety, so I'm conflicted. But adding more fees just seems so crappy to me, and I don't really like it. And I also am very skeptical of the temporary thing, because I feel like it's very hard to take something off the books once it's on the books. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's so easy to just extend it, and then once it's in place for 2 years, it's like, well, everybody's already used to this fee. Why would we have less money, right? When everybody's already used to the fee. So I don't know. I don't like the precedent that it sets. I mean, obviously the precedent has already been set with occupancy fees, but I don't, as somebody who lives outside of Atlantic City and goes to Atlantic City, maybe it's very self-serving, but I don't like these sort of fees just being a cure-all. I think that's pretty much where I come in on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that the choice is between less fire and police or this $2 fee, I mean, I think it's hard, but I'm not positive those are the only two choices, though it's being kind of proposed that way. I mean, I will say $2 a night, is that like a big thing? Like, no, it's really not, but resort fees are already reasonably high and only getting higher, and like sticking $2 more on top of that, I mean, it's not really going to help things. It's not going to make things better when I think that resort fees are already, I think we both consider them as being kind of ridiculous. So I don't think it's great, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, I think the practical side of me is like, well, the resort fee is not instituted by the state, so, the state and the city shouldn't be held sort of in contempt or whatever for the resort fees.
They're not. This is just another fee that goes on your bill, though. That's beyond what the rack rate is.
Yeah, and for the average person, all they're seeing is an increase, right? Like, they don't care who's charging them the fee.
Even us, like when we see like, oh, it's like $12 here or $15 here, like, are we really being like, damn casino's charging us $8 and then there's the $5 state charge and $2 in taxes or whatever? Like, probably not. It's just $15 resort fee, right?
Right, and so even if you're not blaming the state for that, even if people are like, oh, I can't believe Caesars charges $34, which it would be if this goes into effect, because they already have whatever, 27 plus 5 in occupancy fee, this would be another 2. If the annoyance about that is enough to drive to have one more thing to make people not want to go to Atlantic City, like that's a really bad thing. So I think it's more than just $2. It's more than just, who gets the blame. It's taking it all in aggregate and what people's real reaction to it is. So I don't like it.
No, I don't either. But like I said, we'll see what happens. Nothing really has happened yet since the state's taken over. So I don't even know if it was realistic that fire and police get cut, which seemed like a weird place to kind of make your first cuts if you're the state. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing is that there's a new inflatable water slide coming to the beach in Atlantic City in front of Tropicana. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's this thing called the Trippo Supreme, TRIPPO, inflatable water slide that is apparently coming to the beach in front of the Tropicana this summer. There's already a smaller version of this in Myrtle Beach, which I think does reasonably well. It's $2 per ride. You can get an hour armband for $10 or get an all-day pass for $20. You can also rent it from 10 to 11 a.m. for private use or parties. And it seems like the general reaction to this is, okay, this is cool. It's something different, and the price is right, which I agree. I mean, that's reasonably cheap. I don't see a lot of people paying for the all-day pass. Like, how many times are you really going to want to go down this slide? I can't really gauge like how tall or anything it is, but it's significant. It's not like going to Six Flags and going down a water slide, but it's a pretty good sized slide. And if you're at the beach anyway, I could see it being something that, you give your kids $2 or $10 and they get an armband. So, as far as family friendly attraction, I think this is right there. It's not surprising at all to me that this is going in front of Tropicana. I think it's kind of in line with a lot of what they do, and their beachfront is very popular and gets very crowded. So I don't know. Do you have any interest in this? Have you ever spent any time at the beach in Atlantic City?
No, I haven't. But yeah, I don't know. It can't be bad. I mean, it's good. Hopefully Trop makes a little money because of this, and Trippo makes a little bit of money, and a couple more people come to Atlantic City that might have been on the fence otherwise. I mean, seems like a win all around.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like I have gone in the summer with my wife just because it's a fairly cheap beach trip that's reasonably close for us. New Jersey beach towns don't have a ton of hotels, so the rates at the hotels that do exist are pretty high. So we end up doing Atlantic City sometimes for a beach trip, and as my daughter gets older, anything that sort of increases the fun level for her increases the chances that I go to Atlantic City more often. So I'm all in favor of that, making it more fun for my daughter and my wife, and getting me to Atlantic City more. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So there was some talk in the Facebook group, which then I think spilled over into Twitter a bit, about the AC Boardwalk Con. I think Justin in the Facebook group mentioned that the website was gone, and then I think a couple people, including yourself, kind of did a little bit of research on Twitter, and some of the Press of AC guys kind of chimed in and said that even though the website's gone, they are still planning on coming back and doing it again. Do you want to add a little bit to that?
Yeah, so Justin pointed out that, it's typically there would have been a date already presented, and sort of everything, Facebook group, Twitter, all said, see you in 2017 with no updates. I mean, I do think Comic Cons are not as planned hugely in advance as like other big events for some reason. I'm not really sure why. But so I went to the website to do acpc.com, and it's been totally scrubbed. It's like just totally generic, like WordPress, Hello World, or whatever the default WordPress stuff is now. So I went to Twitter and said like, hey, any update? Oh, I actually tweeted at the Boardwalk Con and said, "Hey, any update?" And then Sarah Tracy from the Press of AC pointed out that Dan Grote, another Press of AC writer, had just written up a thing about cons, like not just comic cons, but other sort of like anime and gaming and that kind of stuff, cons going on in New Jersey. And there was a little sidebar mentioning that the Boardwalk Con had not announced any sort of date, but they were looking for a potential different date. And considering either Veterans Day weekend in November or sometime in August when people are already at the beach. So, and to expect an announcement sometime in maybe the next week or two. So it seems like it's not totally dead. I'm interested to see what the announcement is. I would not be at all surprised if it is a smaller venue, because it's been at Boardwalk Hall. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to something smaller. I mean, I don't have any insight about like what all the venues are, but certainly they could do something in one of the casinos. They could do a section of like the Harrah's Convention Center. They could do any number of the hotels that have convention rooms, but I don't know. I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised if just like this is the last we hear of it. I mean, the Scrubbed website, even with people saying, no, it's coming back, we're looking for a date. Like, I mean, it seems like by all accounts, it was something of a flap last year. I know, just because I follow it a little bit, that the Comic-Con circuit is very, very saturated right now, and it's becoming harder and harder to make profits on these things, just because to get premium guests that get people in the door, you have to pay a guarantee. Like, you have to tell a celebrity you're going to pay them X amount of dollars, and so you're doing all this math to say, like, we need to get this amount of people in the door to be able to pay all these guarantees. There was a really big Comic-Con in Dallas on New Year's Eve. I think it was New Year's Eve. It might have been New Year's Day. And it just totally flopped, and like a ton of people didn't get paid. The celebrities didn't get paid because they just didn't get enough people in the door, and the company running it just ran out of money. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen with AC Boardwalk Con, but that's just sort of the ecosystem they're operating in. So I wouldn't really be surprised if this is the end of the run for them. I would like to see them make a go of it, just because I think it's the kind of thing that's cool and brings people into the city. And I also, they've only done it twice, and it's one of those things where you need to do it consistently and get people to recognize that it happens before you can really get a strong following and get people to say, like, oh, I want to put this on my calendar to go. So I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. Hopefully we'll find out more in a couple weeks. I'm not sure if you have much to add, because I know this isn't really your forte, but that's kind of where it comes
you're
from.
Certainly much more in tune with kind of this sort of scene than I am, or the general comic scene or whatever. But I will say, like you, I mean, my impression is that it's quite saturated. Something that goes against them, I know they mentioned November 10th and 11th, is it just came out like yesterday or today, that there's going to be a brand new PAX convention, which, if you haven't heard, they're like one of the very, very biggest kind of conventions in this convention years, I guess, in this area, Penny Arcade, in Philadelphia in November. So clearly it's probably not a good idea for them to try to kind of be anywhere around that time in Atlantic City. But we'll see. I mean, like you said, I think it is something that you have to kind of do over and over again to begin to get a crowd, unless you really spend a lot of money to get kind of premium celebrities in.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully it succeeds. Not that I've gone, but I would like to go someday if it works out with my schedule.
Have you ever been to a convention? Like a Comic-Con type thing? I know you went to the baseball card convention, but...
Yeah, I've been to quite a few baseball card shows. I've been to the National in Baltimore. I don't think I've ever been to... I think I did just sort of stumble into one because I happened to be at like Wildwood or something when they had one, but I've never gone out of my way. And I've wanted to do the New York Comic-Con a couple of times, but it sells out so fast, and I don't feel like plunking down the money for like VIP 3-day passes or whatever is left at the end of that. So, and I've heard it's just like a cluster. Like, I've heard it's totally insane, and that's not really my idea of a good time. And And
I've done PAX East in Boston like 6 or 7 years ago. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of like I've done All-Star Fan Fest a few times for baseball, and it's sort of a similar type of deal. I mean, obviously, All-Star Fan Fest comes with a bunch of people who are already in town, but
I mean, for me, it's kind of like the perfect thing for Atlantic City to try to get a bit more involved in. I mean, so hopefully it ends up working out, or if this particular one doesn't work out, hopefully someone else comes back and tries again with some slightly different iteration of this, and hopefully something ends up sticking.
yeah, I mean, and just to sort of put a cap on this conversation, I think we talked about this before. The thing that would make these conventions really cool, and the thing that makes like San Diego Comic-Con and New York City Comic-Con really draw a lot of people isn't just the con. It's the fact that there's a bunch of surrounding events, like they've gotten so big, or like South by Southwest, you know, like these are obviously way bigger than like Boardwalk Comic-Con could ever hope to be, but they're the type of thing that Atlantic City should be trying to build. But it takes support and sort of co-branding from a lot of other places, and AC just does a really bad job of that. I mean, not AC in general, but there's not very much cohesiveness from the other properties in AC. So you don't see a lot of like Bally's saying, oh, there's this big event, we're going to do a sort of side event here. And that's really, I think, where you can really build up and get a ton of people to come into town. Although I was at in AC, and there was like a tattoo convention, and Wild Wild West did a concert that was very much focused on bringing people from that convention to there. So it does happen a little bit, but I think we just don't hear about it a whole lot.
I mean, I think a big problem with AC doing that kind of like super mega convention is that they don't really have a great airport. Like, it's not super easy or cheap to fly into AC. So I think that pretty much precludes it from a lot of something really big happening there.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to fly into Philly and rent a car.
Yeah, and it's just not convenient.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, there has actually been some talk that's come up in the last few weeks about, since, you know, people are kind of starting to jockey for the upcoming gubernatorial election, people talking about the Atlantic City airport and trying to expand it and do different stuff like that, which I do think is needed, but it's expensive and it might not work. So anyway, we can move on. I'll let you handle the next one because it's much more up your alley, and I'll have no comment.
The restaurants, not up your alley at all. Okay, so Jose Garces, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's what I'm going with anyway. Is opening multiple restaurants at the Tropicana in March. He formerly had 4 restaurants at Revel, which were Amada, a tapas place, Village Whiskey, which was kind of a pub with burgers, typical pub fare, Uboca, Dim Sum and Noodle, and Distrito Cantina, which we've actually eaten at, Kyle. That was the taco truck in Revel.
Indeed.
That I thought was very good, although when you see a taco truck parked in the middle
inside of a casino,
which I thought was very cool, but you see the taco truck and you think it's going to be cheap, and it was certainly not cheap. So he's opening, I mean, the food was very good, so I'll say that about Jose Garces, but he's opening, they're saying it's sort of like 4 restaurants, but it's really 2 restaurants, and each of them has a separate bar area, at least as far as I can tell from the press release. The first one is called Olan, which is a seafood restaurant. That's where Finn used to be, if you've been to Finn in Tropicana. So that's opening on March 3rd. And then the entrance to that will be La Cerveceria, a ceviche bar. And also supposed to have live music, that bar. 24 beers on tap. They're calling it an interactive bar featuring live fun, in quotes. I don't really know what live fun means other than that music is going to be there. Although you could argue any bar with people in it has live fun. The other restaurant is Okache. I'm sure I butchered that, but a Japanese noodle, sushi, and sake place in the former Seaside Cafe. So these 2 restaurants are right next to each other on the boardwalk side of the Tropicana, just above the marketplace. So they're on the casino level, kind of over by where you would go to get your Players Club information or get show tickets. It's like off, if you're facing that desk, it's off to the right of those things. So they will also have at this Japanese place, they're going to have a Japanese candy store at the entrance. I don't know. I know you've already said you don't have much to say. I take it you're not terribly excited about either of these places.
I mean, I don't have anything to say now. I mean, we'll see what the reviews are, and if any of them are particularly well received, I'll certainly consider giving them a try.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I liked Izakaya a lot at Borgata, which seems like it's along sort of the same lines as Okache. And also, obviously, I've liked Suzai, which is a sushi place. The thing to me that I think I'm going to really like is the Japanese candy store. Like, that sort of weird, like, type of place I find very interesting. So hopefully it's really cool and it's not just like, oh, there's a couple strange Japanese candies by the whatever you call it, the hostess desk at the entrance, and it's actually like well done and looks cool and is very like Japanese centric. So that I'm kind of excited about. I don't know if I'll ever really make it to either of these or go down my way. Certainly the Japanese place is more interesting to me than the seafood place because I'm not a big seafood person, but we'll see. I mean, to me, it's more interesting just because I think Trop has done so much, and we see more of Trop almost really trying to compete with Borgata in a way. But we'll see how these come out and what the reviews are when they open.
Indeed. So I guess kind of a piece of bigger news that we both care about is Glenn Straub has come out and said he's going to open Revel on February 20th, right?
Yeah, so that's President's Day weekend, and he does not have a casino license. He's still arguing with the Casino Control Commission that he does not need to get one. So that's still up in the air. So he's saying, though, February 20th, casino or no casino, he will open. Obviously, he said that about June 15th, 2016 as well, and we know what happened with that. He does have the temporary occupancy permit, though, so I guess it's possible that he could open. I don't know what other permits he would need to open without a casino, but I don't know. I mean, it certainly seems... I mean, it's less than a month away now. We're talking like a little over 3 weeks. So assuming that this is plausible, or I guess first question, do you think this is plausible?
I don't even know what to think anymore. I mean,
give me a percentage. February 20th. 'Cause will we see 10 or no?
45%?
Yeah, I was going to say 40. I think I'm around there. I have
think
a hard
it's
time
just under 50%. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it.
Like if you gave me the kind of will it be open by then or not, I would say no, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the reasoning for President's Day weekend. I think it would make more sense to push it more towards typical spring break, which I think is sometime in April. But do you think it's a good idea to open this thing without a casino and get it open and get people in the door and sort of work the kinks out, or is this just showboat all over again?
I don't think it's a good idea unless he actually knows when the casino's opening. I mean, I think if they open the hotel like a month before the casino, that's fine. But if it's going to be like showboat and it's going to be like in 6 months the casino's not open, like I don't think that's good. I think that's like A, you're going to be losing tons of money. B, like people are going to get a bad impression of your property. I don't think it's worth it. But if the casino is actually going to open in like March or early April or something, then it's probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, my bigger question is what's the marketing budget and what's the marketing push? Because I think it's one thing to say we're going to open and sort of be in a soft launch phase, and then the casino is going to open, and that's when we're really going to start to do some advertising. But if it's like the first round of Revel, where there was very, very little advertising money, and they were just like, this is the biggest thing, people will know about it, and people didn't. Or like Showboat, where they were kind of like, well, let's open it because we can, and we'll very, very slowly add to it, which is kind of seems to have been the plan there. I think you lose a lot because it's very hard to get the amount of buzz that you get for a new opening later on. And I still think that was one of the biggest, if not the biggest mistake that Revel made. I mean, certainly there were plenty to choose from. The no smoking thing is kind of the one that everybody harps on, but I think the fact that there was so little marketing done when it first opened, that is something that you just don't get. Like, Vegas casinos, big Vegas mega resorts, when they open, you hear about it. MGM National Harbor, when it opened, you heard about it. Revel, there was so little about it, and it had already been delayed, and they needed to make that message clear. Like, we are opening this day, come see it. It's the biggest, nicest thing in Atlantic City, and they didn't. It may not even be possible for 10 to do that, because it's already been open as Revel, and it's a tough sell, but they need to figure out a way. Like, that's what you pay marketers for. Like, figure out something to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Better news, gambling revenue.
Yeah, it was up last year.
I know. First time in 10 years that we have seen a year-over-year gain in gambling revenue.
But
what's the but? Tell me the but.
Only if you include the online revenues, which is clearly something new.
Right. So it was up 1.5% to, I think, $2.6 billion in 2016. So slightly better than 2015. Tom Pullman, who is the general manager of Golden Nugget, said that Atlantic City has right-sized itself to the point that we're not oversaturated anymore. And I'll link to the Wayne Perry, I think, article. Certainly an AP article, maybe. Yeah, it's Wayne Perry. So I'll link to that in the show notes. My question is, I mean, this is something that we've paid a lot of attention to, the revenues, the gambling revenues. So I have a couple questions. The first is, do you think that this is really flattening out, or is this just sort of a one-year trend, or is it something that this is the start of a rebound? Like, how optimistic are you about the future of gambling revenue in the next coming years?
I don't think it's a rebound. I don't expect it to go back up to $5 billion or anything like that, but I think it could be a flattening out. I think it's possible, especially with Revel coming back, or with 10 coming back online. I think that should help a little bit. But, I mean, clearly there's going to be some headwinds too, whether it be North Jersey casinos, which, aren't happening immediately, but could be happening, or casinos in New York, or kind of new casinos opening up in Pennsylvania. I mean, there are headwinds, but I think it's not unreasonable to expect AC to be at or around this number for at least kind of the medium term.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I've sort of said throughout the decline is that, having $2.5+ billion in gaming revenue that's still a viable market. Like, yes, the decline is big, but, arguably $5 billion was never sustainable, right? And that was the peak. But I guess the question is, if it's a $2.5 billion gaming market, and if, as Tom Pullman from Golden Nugget says, that this is right-sized, what does AC look like as a $2.5 billion gaming market? Like, obviously 10 is going to come in, and if you're saying it's 2.5 and that's like what it's going to be, does 10 increase that? I mean, I think what I'm saying is that it probably won't. So, like, are they taking money away from other people? Can we have 8 casinos in a $2.5 billion market, or would 10 success mean doom for someone else?
I don't think it's entirely like, 10 is going to take a slice of the already existing pie and other people have to lose out. I think it's possible it could grow it a little bit, but it's not going to grow everything that it ends up taking. So it might take a little bit from everyone. My expectation is that 10 is, well, my hope anyways, it's going to come back kind of as a nicer casino as it was when it was open as Revel. And it might take some out of like the middle end ish to high end. From places like, maybe not Borgata, but maybe Borgata if MGM messes it up enough, but places like Caesars, Harrah's, Tropicana, maybe. I don't expect that it would necessarily hurt places like Golden Nugget or resorts all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's interesting. I think that's a good point because I think Borgata is the obvious competition. Like that's who they're going for with that property. I think Borgata's players are so entrenched that unless MGM comes in and really starts messing stuff up, they're not going to make that big a dent. And Revel could take even a decent percentage, like obviously not a huge percentage, but even, 5% of Borgata's money, and Borgata would still be just fine. I think, and on the other end, resorts especially, I don't think those people are going to Revel. Like, I just don't think that that's the market. Resorts is much more sort of locals focused, low roller focused, and I don't think that's what 10's going to be. So I think that's a good point. I think it's the middle tier. I think it's Caesars. I don't think it's even Bally's. I think it's Caesars, Trop, Harris that are looking at competition. I would say even Golden Nugget is kind of competition because I think Golden Nugget, the way it's been redone, is kind of branding itself as sort of like nicer, classier, not necessarily a low roller casino, although they do typically have cheaper tables. But I guess we'll see. Obviously, the optimal scenario is that 10 opens and increases the pie, and we see it go back up to $275 or $3 billion or something like that. But do you think that we are likely to see gains in 2017? I mean, I sort of asked that, but do you think that we're going to see a slow uptick, or are we just at 2.5 for a while?
Well, I think kind of an interesting data point's going to be once like January, February comes out, see what happened year over year, just because of the brand new National Harbor MGM. I think that it's possible that that's going to have a reasonably sized impact on Atlantic City because I think it's sort of close enough and draws from some of the people that come from the part of the country that I live in right now, kind of the Mid-Atlantic region. So I'd like to see kind of what happens first. I think that it's possible we could be right around 2.5 billion next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk more about MGM National Harbor. I mean, I know Neil in the Facebook group has been pretty vocal about the fact that he thinks MGM National Harbor is going to be pretty bad for Atlantic City. I was always very skeptical because I felt like, well, they've already got Horseshoe down there. If you're driving up from Maryland, you're passing Horseshoe, potentially Maryland Live. So you're passing other big casinos. You might even be going by like Harrah's Chester to go to Atlantic City. So like, is another casino there really going to make that much of a difference to people who live in Maryland or Virginia? But
I do.
Yeah, and
I think it's different than all of those casinos.
Right. It's so much of a bigger spectacle and bigger draw than certainly Maryland Live or even Horseshoe. So before we get into a little bit more about National Harbor, so I've for one thing, I've changed my tune a little bit, and I'm a little more concerned about the dent National Harbor is going to make. But really quickly, online revenue, like we talked about how that's sort of the reason it was not a down year. Is that a reason for optimism, do you think, the online? Like, could you see... Certainly, the online hasn't been as booming a thing as everybody expected it to be, and certainly Chris Christie was projecting. But are you optimistic about the growth of online helping Atlantic City casinos, or do you think that's just a temporary thing?
I think maybe long-term it might not end up helping as it becomes legal in more and more states. But I think in the short to medium term, I think it's a good thing. I mean, obviously, being able to play just, or the thing I hear about the most, given my interests, is being able to play Poker Stars in New Jersey is kind of a big deal in the online poker community. So I think it definitely does help. How long it's going to help for, I'm not sure. Depends on how long it takes other states to kind of get into this piece of revenue that they all want. But it's not going to be like this long-term solution for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly where I land, and I've always discounted the online revenue when I've looked at the gaming revenue. I've only ever looked at brick and mortar because my feeling is it's a flick of a switch away from from being on in Pennsylvania and Delaware and other states, as soon as they say it's okay, part of the thing about having PokerStars and big national companies running online casinos in New Jersey is that for them to make them available in Pennsylvania, it is very, very fast. I mean, within like a day of it becoming legal, I think you would have many sites up and running. So I think it's a short-term solution. I think AC casinos would be very wise to look at it as temporary money, as like a temporary reprieve. But certainly we've seen how much foresight they've had in their long monopoly of gambling. So I don't know. I tend to kind of not really look at even the online gambling revenue as a sort of sign of the health of the city.
I agree.
So we mentioned National Harbor. I don't think we want to go into the trip report we have. I think we can kind of push that back. But I think it's interesting to talk about National Harbor generally. Sure. I mean, is there anything... You haven't been, right?
I have not been yet, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot more to say. My brother sent a trip report that we can maybe get into next episode, but I think the major takeaway is that it's a big mega resort. I mean, it is not... Even Horseshoe, which I thought, here comes Caesars with a property that's going to get all the people who go to Bally's and Caesars and Harrah's from anywhere south of, say, the Maryland-Pennsylvania border, right? They're all going to go now down to Horseshoe, and that didn't really happen because Horseshoe's just kind of not that big and doesn't have a hotel attached. MGM Grand is a spectacle, and it is a spectacle that is in...
MGM National Harbor.
Yeah. Why do I keep calling it MGM Grand? MGM National Harbor. It's a spectacle. It's at National Harbor. It is just across the river from D.C., so it's a bunch of people who are tourists who are in town. It is going to draw... I think like crazy. So I don't know. What do you have anything to add beyond just that it's big and it's there?
I think that you were talking about what we think Revel could take from MGM is just going to be taking from Borgata. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's the same company now. Which is interesting.
So yeah, right. I was going to say for two reasons. One, it's going to be like the same clientele almost exclusively. It's different networks right now, but very soon. It's even going to be the same company, so you're going to be getting, if you're a big MGM player, you're going to be getting free rooms in one or the other. So I think now it's kind of like indirectly taken from Borgata just because it's going after the same kind of high-class clientele. But as soon as Borgata switches to MGM offers, it's going to be actually directly competing where you have a free room at both.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects Borgata's bottom line. I mean, obviously, MGM probably as a whole doesn't really care as long as you go to one or the other, right? Like they don't necessarily care if you're going to Borgata or MGM National Harbor. I almost called it MGM Grand again. But for us as Atlantic City folks, like we would much rather people go to Borgata and keep that going well. And I think it's an interesting sort of MBA type of exercise because a lot of people hand wring a lot. They say, "Oh, you're cannibalizing your own product," but I think that the conventional wisdom now in business is like you need to not be afraid to cannibalize your product, right? Like you need to be willing to risk that because if you have the chance to make more money somewhere else, you take the more money when you can. And it's people like Kodak who didn't want to risk cannibalizing their film business because by going into digital, that get left out in the cold. I mean, obviously this is different because it's just location based, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with it. I'm sure MGM will paint a rosy picture no matter what happens, but we'll certainly have the data to see how it affects Borgata, and I think it could. You know, I don't know if Borgata's going to post too many more $70 million months or whatever they posted a few months back.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you could make an argument that it could not hurt them that much because maybe there's kind of just people who have a lot of money who live in the DC area, which lots of people around here have a lot of money, who kind of enter the MGM rolls and then they're given this opportunity to go to the beach for free and go up to Atlantic City every once in a while. So we'll see. I mean, I think that this will probably somewhat negatively affect Borgata, but it's a good idea for MGM, certainly. I mean, they'll make more money with both open than with just one.
Yeah, and I think that's the big, like, certainly when I'm talking about cannibalizing, it's a portion. It is not the whole thing. I mean, there are a ton of people who are in DC for other things. There are a ton of people who live in DC and never make the trip. There are a ton of people in, like, you know, Southern Virginia, where AC is an incredibly long trip and DC is like half as long. So I do not think they are too close to each other to coexist. That's certainly not the case.
Right. All right. I mean, do we have anything else we want to talk about MGM National Harbor right now?
No, I think we can save the trip report and go ahead and close this thing out, because I know we're already longer than we thought we'd be. Of course we are.
Yeah, well, so if you want to reach out to us and talk with either us or all of the other knowledgeable people who know more about a lot of subjects than we do, like Eric and like, I don't know, plenty of our other listeners, you can join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/do-for-a-win. You can find more of our content, like our Best of 2016 awards at doforawin.com. Props to Craig for getting that up. If you just are somehow hearing this passing by and want to find our podcast, you can search for it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Just search for Atlantic City or Do for a Win. And you can reach out to us on Twitter at DoForAWin, or send questions to doforawin@gmail.com. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll talk to you guys in a week or two.
Yeah, good luck in the casinos if you're heading to AC.
Just don't tell Andrew you got a raise.
That cat's already out of the bag.
No, I haven't gotten a raise the last 3 years. I don't know why.
It's so weird.
But I'm diamond, so that's good.
Yeah, yada, 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 I'm diamond. Want to go to the lounge?
Let's go play some Galaga.